oxygen, even as they carried him out to the car. It was lucky the house was only half a mile from Leicester Royal Infirmary. It seemed there wasn't time to wait for an ambulance. I went to the front door and stared after the rapidly departing car, my legs trembling. I wanted to go back inside and sit down, but my feet seemed to be glued to the doormat. Oh, please, God, let him live, I prayed. I'd given my nails a French manicure for the party, but I started to bite them anyway. And that's when Rupert crept up behind me, put his arm round my waist and kissed my cheek. "It will be all right," he whispered. I whirled round. "Get off me!" I snarled. I didn't realise it would sting my hand so much. It wasn't all right. We heard the news later that day. After 4 attempts to restart Jerry's heart, the hospital doctors gave up the struggle. His parents had been kept in touch and they'd reluctantly agreed with the decision. Jerry was their only child. I think my New Year's resolution that afternoon was the only one I've ever kept. I resolved that I would never deliberately take any kind of drug, whatever the pressure. I wanted this to be my memorial to Jerry. I wanted somehow to honour him, so that his death would at least have achieved something good. If my decision kept me from suffering the same fate as him, then by his death, Jerry would have saved my life. It would have made him so happy to know that. It wouldn't be true to say that my parents and me didn't see eye to eye with one another on 1 or 2 things. It was pretty well everything we didn't see eye to eye on. They always seemed to view what I was up to through a moral microscope, while I'd have preferred them to follow Lord Nelson's example with a telescope. They seemed to believe that sex was sinful, so in my view it was a miracle they ever produced a daughter. I should explain that I'm talking about their own daughter Amy, not me. The people I call my parents are actually my foster parents, William and Florence Parsons. I'd lived with the 3 of them since I was 8. Amy is 3 years older than me. Her real name is Amethyst, but who wants to be called Amethyst? She was known as Amethyst until the day she started secondary school, but on that day she told everyone, including her parents, to call her Amy. So far as I know, it was the only time in her life when she rebelled against them. My real mother used to drink a lot. I didn't understand it at the time, but sometimes I had to get myself ready for school in the morning because she wouldn't wake up. Often she wasn't at home when I got back from school, so I had to get my own tea. And sometimes she didn't treat me nicely. One day when I was 7, 2 ladies came and took me away, telling me my mother had asked them to find a nice family for me to live with. And that's how I ended up in foster care with Mum and Dad Parsons. There were 2 other families first, but they didn't keep me for long. I didn't like the other kids they had, and I vaguely remember getting into fights with them. Living with Amy was at least bearable. We didn't have to share a bedroom, thank goodness, and we had so little in common with each other that she generally kept out of my way. We did have occasional bust-ups, usually when she discovered I'd done something naughty. Telling on me always seemed to give her great pleasure. I suppose she felt I was usurping her parents' previously undivided attention. I remember an incident the very first week I moved in with them. I found this fabulous oak tree at the bottom of their garden, and I couldn't resist climbing it. When I discovered I couldn't reach the lowest branch, I asked Amy to give me a leg up. She wouldn't do it. She insisted that climbing trees was dangerous. I couldn't believe that she'd never climbed such a magnificent tree. It was just made to hold a treehouse. Eventually I found an old rope that did the trick. I slung it over the lowest branch and pulled myself up by it. Afterwards, I kept the rope under my bed. I often used it in the summer to climb into my tree and read a book there. The Parsons never adopted me, and by the time I left school, I saw myself more as a lodger without any family of my own.